Hello, everybody, and welcome to Breaking Ponies, the show that either appeals to either or appeals to neither.
Yeah, probably neither, by the way. People seem to be reacting to it so far, but anyway,
Well, it takes a while to gain momentum in something like this.
assuming you're going to gain any at all.
Yeah, you never know. So today we have episode 15 and 16 of My Little Pony, and episode 8.
But yeah, technically episode 8, season 2,
Yeah,
episode
season
1.
2, episode 1 of Breaking Bad. Let's start off with ponies, of course. We have episode 15, Feeling Pinkie Keen, which is a strange way of phrasing it.
Mm.
And so in this episode, we're introduced to the fact that Pinkie gets twitches whenever something is about to happen, which is like her psychic power, which apparently is never again ever referenced anywhere in the show.
No, not that I can remember it being referenced. It's
And
just
never referenced beforehand either. So it's
no,
something that they
no.
came up with just for the one episode, which
Yeah, pretty much.
I never understood why they would do things like this.
Yeah, lots of shows do though, don't they? They bring in something, have it for an episode, and then it's gone. That's it.
Yeah, they
We're done.
never mentioned it again. It's like they did that in DuckTales a lot with Gold Fever.
Yeah, I remember that. It's episodic writing. That's what it comes down
Yeah,
to.
which
And
I
of course,
mean, I
a lot
understand
of
that the
episodes aren't even written by the same people. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
for what I understand, the show does get a bit more serial down the line.
Yeah, the first season is definitely very episodic. There's no real sort of theme that connects all the episodes. I mean, you got the Grand Galloping Gala thing, which comes up in just a couple of episodes throughout the series, but other than that, nothing. But yeah, it does get a little more serial later on.
Well,
Anyway.
I guess I'll be looking forward to that. But yeah, apparently she has her Pinkie sense, which is like spider sense, but a bit more
Pink.
specific. It's like spider sense, but with Pinkie.
Mm.
So yeah, she gets twitches and things, so she's able to predict when things are going to happen, like frogs falling from the sky or doors smashing in your face.
Which happens quite a lot.
I mean, doesn't Spike ever knock?
Only when it suits the story, I think.
So, yeah,
But I mean,
she introduces Twilight to tell her that she has her Pinkie sense, and naturally Twilight doesn't believe her because who would?
yeah, obviously.
But apparently all the other ponies do believe her. They're like, no, we don't understand it either, but she has these powers. And we
It's
don't.
like, Twilight is sort of new to this whole thing, but they speak from experience.
Yeah.
They know that it's real. She doesn't.
So yeah, she works as a decently enough as an audience proxy because we're just learning about this too because they didn't establish it in any previous episode.
Mm.
So of course she's learning about it as well. Naturally, she's her skeptical self, which is, I guess, is a healthy way to think about it.
Of course.
Twilight decides to study her. And,
Literally.
yeah, study her with like tubes and scanners and sensors. And I made the quip that because she's observing it, she changed the outcome of it.
Yeah,
So
that
you
was
have
the point.
quantum Pinkie now.
Yeah, ponies exist in a constant quantum state. They only exist when you look at them.
Yeah, exactly. Like most TV shows.
That was kind of never mind.
But of course, when she's scanning her, she can't actually find anything. She nothing actually happens. So it's like you can be getting twitches all day, but then the one time that I try to scan you're getting nothing.
I don't get to control it. Yeah. Anyway.
She like gives up, and she tries to study her at her natural habitat until she gets a much more extreme twitch that she's never gotten before. It's like a full body shudder, which predicts something completely unprecedented is going to happen. They end up discovering a giant hydra in the swamp. It was like,
Yes.
Okay, that's
Because
unexpected.
Fluttershy is moving the frogs there, which is why frogs were falling from the sky earlier.
Yeah, she's moving frogs, and then early on somebody else was moving furniture and stuff, which ends up falling on Twilight.
Yeah, did you actually notice that the person who dropped all that furniture, which is why it dropped on Twilight, was actually Derpy?
Yeah, I noticed her.
That was her first official appearance.
Her first official appearance, or not just as a background?
Well, Derpy technically only ever appeared in the first episode as a background pony because the eyes were a bit weird.
Yeah.
And it was thought that what happened was that the main characters were originally going to completely cover her. So it was just a background artist just keeping themselves amused while drawing background stuff. But they moved the position of the characters sort of last minute, so Derpy got uncovered. And then the rest of the time, up until this episode, Derpy's eyes were normal because it was just a background pony.
So
and it was
the first actual appearance was accidental. This is the first deliberate official appearance.
Yeah, this was the first sort of nod to the fandom. as it were.
So it's right around this point that they're starting to realize that they're starting to get feedback from the fandom, and it's causing like this feedback loop.
Yeah, pretty much. The sort of the fans are feeding the show, and the show is feeding the fans, and we sort of keep each other going. So this is where it starts to show up.
So
Because Derpy, you may have noticed,
so I
was
guess
in
it's
both
sort of
of
an
these two
appropriate
episodes.
metaphor for our own show.
Well, hopefully, if we ever get people to
if you don't know,
freaking
we're
comment.
recording this episode. This is the first episode we recorded since we put the first episode online.
Because we gave it a breather for a
date
week.
ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, just to sort of give you an idea.
Anyway, so they end up encountering this Hydra, and I like the Hydra. They even with a creature like this Hydra, didn't they call it something else other than a Hydra? They called it like
No, they called it a Hydra.
a Hydra? Okay, because they kind of like glossed over what it was. And
yeah, they only sort of call it by name once, I think, but they do call it a Hydra.
I thought they called it like some other pun, like a swamp Hydra, like a Sidra or something. I don't know.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Hydra.
I'll take your word for that. So I like the Hydra because even the Hydra gets like these good moments where he's just kind of like fighting with himself or laughing at the other heads that have gotten into predicaments that the other ones didn't. So
yeah,
they still managed to get to give pretty decent personality too, which I liked.
Yeah, even though he's sort of villain for the day kind of thing.
Yeah, just kind of stand. He doesn't appear again.
Not officially, no.
No, oh, and they also previously in the episode they introduced Gummy, which is Pinkie's pet character, which is just appearing in this episode.
Gummy does show up now and then, mostly as a sort of a comic relief. Yeah, unlike Angel Bunny, who's grumpy and mean and horrible,
actively malicious.
Yeah, Gummy is just sort of there, usually chewing on Pinkie at some point, or chewing on something, or just standing around looking vacant.
I'm pretty sure I've seen pictures of him online before.
It's actually kind of a thing that comes up in the second season, that all of the cast do actually have their own pet.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think you've seen Twilight's yet.
I figured Twilight's would be Spike.
No, Twilight has another one. Pinkie's is Gummy. Obviously, Fluttershy's is Angel Bunny, although she has lots of animals that live with her. Rarity's is the cat. I can't.
Of course, Rarity would have a cat.
Yeah, Rarity has a cat. You've seen her, I think, in the previous episode.
Oh yeah.
And
the cat that looked kind of like Yzma's cat form from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, as I said, it's a story point that comes up in the second season.
That they all get pets, and one of them doesn't have a pet yet, I guess.
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you which one.
Okay then.
You'll work it out.
So anyway, they're running from the Hydra, and they have to cross this cliff, which are these very precarious rocks that are very carefully arranged. It looked almost like a video game level. I was thinking,
I was gonna say video game, but let's be honest, if it was a modern video game, quick time event. I was thinking that they just need to press X on the right time, and they'll get across.
You have to press X at the right rhythm in each time.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, naturally, because she has telekinesis and it's been pre-established in the previous episode that she can teleport, she obviously doesn't do any of this.
Of course. Well, it would destroy the suspense for the
It would destroy the suspense, but continuity, I think, is more important. You need better writing than that.
I've already established that continuity doesn't make sense. Can I remind you that we had an episode where they were removing winter for spring, and then 2 episodes later they were moving into fall? Okay, continuity doesn't work in this show,
which is strange because later on they start having things that are more serial and more periodic and actually has continuity.
Yeah, I know. I told you, it's the first season. They weren't expecting to expand this massive universe. They were probably imagining that the whole thing was going to be just little one episodes, each one connected to the other in sort of vague ways. It's only in the second season beyond that they start actually putting the things in order, as it were.
Well, fair enough, I guess. But it's I guess it's just something that we just want something to complain about, honestly.
Well, if it gives us something to talk about at length, that's half the point of this podcast.
Yes. They have to jump across the cliff, and even Fluttershy, apparently, who doesn't like to fly, she has to do it herself.
Yeah.
But they escape from the Hydra, and Pinkie's like, no, that wasn't the big problem. It's like, what the hell could possibly be any worse than the Hydra? And then she pretty much literally goes berserk, turning into Rapidash for a moment.
Yeah, everybody made that joke. Literally everybody made that joke. Twilight goes a little
Yeah,
quote
she goes a little
mental.
berserk, and so then it's revealed. Oh, that's what the amazing thing was. You were going to discover that that you actually do believe in my powers.
Yeah, because Twilight basically just gives up. She says, "I can't be bothered to try to work this out. It just happens, and it has to make sense." And apparently, that was the doozy.
And that was the word they used, the doozy.
Oh, the do is that the word you were trying to think
Yeah,
of? Fair enough.
that's what we were looking for. So yeah, that was the big doozy that Twilight actually believed in her powers. So I guess the whole metaphor for this episode is pretty much a metaphor for religion or faith or any kind of belief-based system that has no tangible proof.
Yeah, the
And
idea that it's okay to believe in something even if you don't have any direct proof that it's there. I know a lot of people would argue that particular fact.
yeah,
Um,
like me, I would argue against that particular fact. I mean, it's okay to believe in something so long as it doesn't cause problems. I mean, they don't really do anything about where they're putting their trust in Pinkie's predictions or anything. Well, actually, they do. There's a lot of times when they are going crazy and putting way too much trust in it. Like, of course, at the end, Twilight is now wearing a umbrella hat that, and I
the one thing I would argue though is that I don't think it's quite so much about not having proof, because it does prove that her sense is correct. The experience speaks for itself in that sense, but it's not being able to prove why you
why
get
it
to that
works, just that it
point.
works. It's like the
Yeah,
purge.
yeah, yeah. In a way, um,
We just compared My Little Pony to the purge.
well, yeah. But let's be honest. Which would you rather watch? My Little
I haven't
Pony.
seen the purge, so maybe I don't.
I have. I saw a review of it.
Oh, I
The
saw
Cyber
that one
Critics.
too, and it looks like fun enough.
Oh, it looks stupid, but I hear the second movie was apparently better. I don't know. I haven't seen either of them. I probably never will see either of them. But anyway, what the hell were we talking about?
We were talking about using faith as a crutch.
Yeah, well, some
But
people
yeah,
do.
no,
Some people don't.
it wasn't like a specifically about religion, but it's like anything about something that requires faith to believe in something that has no tangible proof or explanation. I mean, yeah, the proof is the fact that it does work, but I don't know, it's kind of a dangerous slope to go down because they talk about you believe in something even though it doesn't have proof. At what point can it be disproven, though? At what point do you kind of draw the lines like, okay, you got to be serious about this? So I don't know.
Well,
I
you
think this
don't
episode could
forget.
be kind of misinterpreted in some
Well, you also
negative
have to
ways.
understand that it is designed at kids, and kids do have a
That's what you keep
tendency.
saying, yes, but
Well, yeah, but kids have a tendency to believe in things regardless of whether they actually have proof that they exist or not. The childish imagination is kind of indicative of that, in that kids will believe in all sorts of different
well,
crap.
yeah, and
All
yeah,
the
of course you got all these like urban legends. I mean, everybody remembers the urban legends from the schoolyards. Like it's like if you eat a snail, you'll die or something. Or I don't know. I'm just making this shit.
I
It's like
haven't heard that one
if you
before.
touch the bird poop on the swings, you'll get rabies. Or if you press down B, your Pokeball turns into an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, there are
If
some
you use
weird ones.
strength on the truck 500 times, you get Mew.
Yeah, there are some weird ones, but again, in a way, that's kind of the thing. It's just that Twilight has the proof that this makes sense, in the sense that Pinkie has her weird vibration thing, and then something happens, and it always happens like that. The only thing she can't do is work out why there's a connection between that at all. So it's not quite against sort of scientific. In a way, it kind of promotes that, in that she did try to work it out scientifically,
Yeah,
but
and she does
in
have.
a way, I guess it was kind of saying that science has its limits, perhaps. Maybe that's what they were trying to get at. Or maybe we're just reading far,
Yeah,
far too deep.
I think we are kind of way over interpreting this episode, but that's what we do on this show. We over interpret to the point of pointlessness.
Ridiculousness. Yeah, both.
So let's move on to episode 16, the Sonic
Yes,
Rainboom.
Sonic Rainboom. Very fun.
This episode starts off with a quote that pretty much sums up everybody's thoughts about Twilight. You really need to get out more.
It was a crazy weekend of studying. I like that line. How can you have a crazy weekend of studying? It actually starts off a little earlier than that, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it starts off with Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. She's trying to teach Fluttershy to be her cheering section, which there is like no worst possible choice.
Yay!
But yeah, that is actually the very first clip I ever referenced in one of my videos. That was before that was like 2-3 years before I even started watching the show.
Yeah, well, everybody likes the yay because it's funny. Like I said, there was that Skyrim mod
I
that
mean,
replaced the dragons with giant Fluttershies, and when they breathed fire, it just went yay, just because it's funny.
no, I mean I like jokes like that. I've made reference in the past. I think things that should be loud but end up being muffled are really funny. So yeah,
Purple, purple.
that clip really did kind of take off well.
Oh
And
yeah, well,
so
there's a lot of memes that
but
have
yeah,
come out
unfortunately,
of it.
she has to use Fluttershy because she's the only other Pegasus in the main six. She could use
Yep.
Derpy, but she's not established as a main character yet.
Yet. What's this yet?
I'm sure she gets more important later.
Oh, she does for one episode, and we will get to that when we get to that.
Way
Let's
down
just
the
say
line.
that's going to be an interesting episode. Very interesting.
Oh dear, I am afraid now.
You don't have to be afraid, just be confused.
My eyes will be just like hers. What the hell?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, she's trying to get her to be her cheering section because she's going to a special event in Cloudsdale, which I didn't get the pun until the second time they mentioned the name of the city.
Cloudsdale, yes.
Yeah, it's obviously a pun on Clydesdale, which that it's a clever pun because Cloudsdale just works as a city name in and of itself.
Mm,
It works okay. It's kind of like Riverdale or Lawndale or
not quite like Ponyville, which
right. Yeah.
doesn't quite work.
No, no.
You couldn't call it Human Town or
Human Town,
something.
yes. Since all the others want to go with her to support her in the competition, they ask Twilight to find a spell to let them go up there, and she finds one that will give them wings, but it's such a complicated and difficult spell. She only manages to cast it once
On Rarity.
on Rarity. So Rarity, which I already don't like, ends up becoming even more of a stuck-up bitch.
It's one of her character traits, you know?
Yeah, it's an annoying character trait.
I'm not saying that, but it's a character trait. Yeah, I mean, we've been through this before. Rarity is probably the least likable of all the main six because she's the beauty queen, she's the stuck-up one, you know.
So I guess if you are in the age demographic that's watching this show and Rarity is their favorite pony, you know not to hang out with that person.
No, not required.
So yeah, they end up going up there, and she also, since the original wing spell is so difficult, she finds an alternate spell that'll just let them walk on clouds, which is a pretty much is a decent enough. They take the hot air balloon up there, which is again an interesting continuity from the rest of the series. That yeah, they have this hot air balloon that they use.
Yeah, if you remember, they do actually use it in the For Weather Friends episode because Spike and Pinkie Pie were in it commentating on
Yeah,
the
exactly.
race. So yeah, they do actually use the balloon on several occasions. I don't remember if it shows up after the first season though.
Well, it's in the main. It's in the.
Well, yeah, I mean, other than the intro, I mean, which was technically wrong because in the first episode she didn't go down to Ponyville in a balloon. She was taken down in a sort of chariot thing.
It's the intro. Who gives a shit?
But anyway.
So yeah, so since Rarity is just like showing off her wings, so she's got these butterfly wings, which are very different, but definitely something that Rarity would like. She starts
Yes,
showing it off to everybody, and
fabulous.
she gets a really popular, and obviously Rainbow is really jealous of over all this.
Jealous, and not to mention, of course, the fact she's nervous about not being able to pull off her signature move, the Sonic Rainboom.
And the whole time she's getting taunted by these three bullies who keep calling her Rainbow Crash, which again is a reference to the previous episode, although I would guess just independently they came up with the same pun.
Probably.
And
I think it's a pretty obvious pun when you
one of
think
the bullies
about it.
you said was voiced by Nelson. I think he
What?
sounds, which I'm not the same character, not the same voice actors, obviously, but
No, I don't think it was the same voices, but I can't remember. I think his name was Hoops, the fan name that he was sort of given for the episode because he doesn't show up that much.
right.
But you got the trio of them, and the orange one with the basketballs, Cutie Mark. So that's why it's called Hoops. To me, sounds like Nelson from The Simpsons. Just, I'm not saying it's the same voice
Yeah,
actor,
he.
but it
I
sounds
thought the
like.
voice sounded more like Jimbo from The Simpsons.
I don't know, Jimbo. No, Jimbo always sounded sort of more deeper than Nelson. Nelson's sort of got a slightly gravelly voice, but I don't know.
Maybe Doll split the difference. You kissed a girl. That is so gay.
Yes, of course.
So yeah, they're teasing her the whole time, and so since she's so nervous, they all go into the competition together, and she's up with number 2, so she's kind of like swapping her numbers around, and then she realized that that's kind of a moot point because they're just letting anyone go whenever because this is kind of a dog and pony show.
Yes,
Well,
okay,
without the dogs.
we'll get to that.
Oh dear.
Don't forget, there is an episode of this show. I think it might even be the next episode that is actually called A Dog and Pony Show.
God.
So we'll get to that. We will get to that.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
So anyway, Rarity and
Yeah, so and of course Rarity doesn't go on because she's getting herself primped and preened and ready to go out, and ends up coming out looking like something out of Thunderdome.
she just looks weird. I mean, it's a case of too much. It's like how a child would dress up if they were given like makeup and all that stuff. You know, it's that over the top. I've no idea what the hell I'm doing. Just
And she's
put everything on.
but she's supposed to be like trained in how to make herself look good.
I guess maybe in her eyes she looks fabulous.
Yeah, and which again, why I don't fucking like her. So
Yeah,
they
anyway.
end up having to both compete at the same time, and she is showing off herself so much that she ends up flying too close to the sun, and her wings melt. Very Icarus.
Yes. So she falls.
She falls, and Rainbow has to go save her. And she goes so fast that she actually manages to pull off the sonic Rainboom, and everybody's impressed, and she ends up winning the competition.
Of course.
So she gets to spend the day with the what are they called? The Thunderbolts?
Wonderbolts. Wonderbolt.
Which
Thunderbolt.
at this point I hadn't even realized that they were female.
Well, to be honest, they wear suits, they wear goggles. It's really hard to see any sort of identifying characteristics on them. Because, I mean, generally it's hard to tell the difference between a male pony and a female pony.
Yes.
Unless they are actually, like, a different size.
Yeah, like Mac or any of the bullies.
Like, yeah, Big Mac or the bullies. They were a different size. But a lot of the sort of male ponies are pretty much the same size as the female ponies. So the only real way you can tell is, as I've said before, you have to look for the eyelashes.
But the Wonderbolts all wear goggles.
But they wear
so
goggles,
you can tell.
so you can't
But
tell.
I kind of figured they were something like like when you have a girl that's obsessed with like a sports team or something. They're usually generally all males.
I guess it's just one of those things. I can't remember if they're all girls or if maybe just the lead one is
the spokesperson.
I can't remember. They give her more of a character in the 3rd season. So again, we'll get to that.
There's a lot.
There's a
lot that we have to come up to that we have to run into. Anyways.
But so yeah, in the end, it all ends up well. The Rainbow Dash pulls off the Sonic Rainboom, saves Rarity literally at the last split second, and
she also saves the bullies as well, which is yay.
No, she doesn't save the bullies. She saves the Wonderbolts.
Oh yeah, the Wonderbolts.
Because the Wonderbolts fly down to try to save Rarity, but Rarity's panicking so much that she manages to knock them unconscious. Yeah, great way to save your rescuers.
Oh yeah. Start flailing. That is what animals do when you try to rescue them. They start flailing and bite everybody.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so in the end, it all works out for in the end. She
I thought both these episodes are both kind of throwaways, honestly. They didn't really establish anything that was really of massive importance. And
well, I will say that the Sonic Rainboom does come back in a later episode.
Yeah, except because other than that, though, specifically said the whole Pinkie sense thing never gets used again, which you'd think would be rife for a plot point for a lot of things, but I guess it's almost too easy. If she's able to predict all these things to happen. It's like when you give Twilight the ability to teleport. It just makes the writing too easy.
Well, you have to be careful with these things. Obviously, you have to. You can't make your characters too powerful, otherwise it just gets boring. If your characters can do everything, then what's the point of watching them?
I guess that's why Superman is such a
Yeah, that's why Superman is boring as
it's such
hell.
a hard character to write for.
Yeah, that's why superheroes in general often have to have weaknesses, because if you make them too perfect, it's just boring because they're always going to win.
But it also smacks of Mary Sueism, which
Well,
is such a. I'm glad there really isn't any character in this that really does that, because all the characters are very well designed. They have their strengths and weaknesses, but they all kind of interact really well, which is, like I've said in the past, this is a very good way to write characters. So you just choose two characters and see how they would interact with each other. And with the
mm,
cast of 6, that's like, what, 36 possible pairings.
well, yeah, they do pair the same ones up on several occasions, but I mean, like, the Sonic Rainboom one, that was a Rainbow Dash and Rarity episode.
Right.
And the feeling Pinkie Keen was very much a Pinkie Pie and Twilight episode. So they do this pairing, even if the other ponies are there hanging around in the background as well.
Yeah, obviously you want to, when you do have the main two, you'll have other supporting characters. That's what supporting characters do. They just kind of move in and
Support.
out. Sometimes they have interactivity with each other. Sometimes they don't. Which is like I said, when you have a very well written cast, you can just put two together and the episode just kind of writes itself.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, that's that. I guess that's my final thoughts on the two episodes. They were okay, but they didn't really seem to have too much of importance that happened. They just kind of seem to be throwaway episodes.
yeah. Well, you got to expect that in a show like.
Yeah, they always have filler episodes. They're not
It's
not
it's
everything is critical.
no, unlike Breaking Bad, for
Yeah,
instance, where
you
every
I
episode
think there was
has.
maybe like 2 or 3 episodes that were kind of skippable, and then told in the whole series.
Yeah. Well, today's episode was certainly something. So anyway, we're into season 2 now. Finally, episode 1, 737 title. We start off in grayscale. Oddly enough, you just seems to be Walter's back garden pool, and there's just an eyeball floating in the water. And I immediately said, okay, that is not a real eyeball. But I wasn't sure if it was like supposed to be fake.
Yeah, you weren't sure if it was a bad eyeball prop or just actually a fake eyeball.
Or actually a fake eye. But then, of course, we see that there's a stuffed animal in the pool that looks half burnt, and so you realize the eyeball is from the stuffed animal. So it was obviously meant to look fake. With the sound of sirens in the background, very, very popular thing with this. They
They do
set up
have
these
sirens a
scenes.
lot in this show.
And I always have to keep asking, is that like in the background where you are, or is that actually in the show?
Yes, because
yeah.
I'm always getting sirens on my recording because I live really close to a firehouse. So
Yeah, he's always in trouble. You see, the police are always coming to arrest him.
I don't sell drugs anymore.
Yeah,
Or
so,
ever. I'm sound just a nerd.
yeah. So anyway, the actual sort of main body of the episode starts with a repeat of the end of the last episode.
Which I guess is a good idea because it is kind of the start of the new season. You just kind of want, because the show had been off the air for quite a while at this point. Well, not off the air. But there had been no new episodes for a while.
Yeah, well, it had been between seasons, and as you said, they weren't sure if they were going to make a second one. So that makes sense. So yeah, it repeats the end of the last episode, which is with Walter and Jesse meeting up with Tuco and his 2 henchmen, his bodyguards. They do the deal, everything goes well, and then Tuco snaps and beats up his one of his 2 bodyguards. They then drive off, and Walter sort of does a quick calculation, sort of partially out loud, partially in his head, working out that he needs $737,000, roughly, in order to give his family a comfortable life. And he realizes that if he does 11 more deals with Tuco, which is pretty much 3 more months, then he can drop the whole thing and just walk away. And so he thinks, stick it out for 3 months, we can do this.
Which is a pretty common trope in a lot of these like drug deal movies. I mean, I know Blow kind of did it, Requiem for a Dream did it, where it's like they just do this one big score and that's it. They're set. They're fine. They can live
Oh
off the
yeah.
interest.
Things are never that simple. Let's
No,
be
it
honest.
never are. Because
Never.
if they were that simple, it wouldn't be drama.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wouldn't be interesting if things were that simple. Anyway, they go to drive off, and Tuco comes pelting back because the guy he beat up is dying. Oh, big fucking shocker there.
You
So
just you
he
just beat this guy up, and you're coming to me.
yeah, he beats the guy up, and then he's surprised when he's dying. But anyway, he tries to get Walter to save him, and Walter can't. And the guy, from what I could tell, he literally ends up choking to death. Just his lungs fill up with blood or something, I guess. The other bodyguard hides the body rather precariously under these cars, which didn't look safe the first time, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
And
He
Tuco
probably
is.
would have been able to hide it better if Tuco wasn't telling him, "Come on, let's get out of here."
Yeah, true enough, because he was trying to find a car with an open trunk, but couldn't find one. But anyway, eventually they get to leave, but Walter and Jesse are obviously a little worried about Tuco's
Mental
sanity.
state. Yeah.
Yeah. So Walter goes back home, and of course he's quickly checking on the TV to see if anything's shown up, like it would in the hour or so it took him to get there. I don't know.
You never know. Breaking news late at night.
Yeah, he then tries to literally force himself on Skylar, which obviously doesn't go down quite so well. And of course, she just assumes that it's because he's sort of losing it because of the whole cancer thing. Luckily, Jesse then buys himself a gun. Obviously, it's not a legitimate gun. He gives this guy money, and the guy drops the gun off in a rather roundabout way to do it. But it's like, did they think that was inconspicuous? Because if I was in the area, I think I'd notice something like that.
Well,
I don't know.
he does a lot of his deals that way. He just kind of because you wouldn't expect a drug deal to go down at like a hot dog place,
Yeah,
a drug
but
deal or a gun deal or anything like that.
yeah, I suppose so. But it did look a bit strange just to watch it, just watch this guy just randomly walk past, drop a bag off, and then leave. But anyway, so Jesse gets himself a gun, and Walter and he meet the next day to sort of discuss the Tuco problem. Because at
Good way
this
of putting
point,
it.
yeah, well, what else are you going to call it? So they are seriously worried that Tuco is going to come gunning for them because they're witnesses to the fact that he killed this guy. And they think, well, the fact that they cook good meth is only going to keep them alive so long. And that eventually Tuco's going to weigh money he could get from the meth versus odds of these two talking, and it's not going to come up in their favor. While all that's going on, you've got Hank and Marie. And Marie is trying to talk to Skylar again, because, of course, they haven't spoken since.
And of course, Marie's acting like she hasn't done anything wrong.
Yeah. Well, she's a kleptomaniac. In her mind, she hasn't done anything wrong. But actually, I don't know if kleptomaniacs think they've done anything wrong or not when they steal stuff. That's not really my area of expertise. They sort of talk briefly about the fact that Marie is having sessions with a psychologist of some kind, which is presumably about the kleptomaniac stuff. Although, of course, that's officially said later on when Hank goes to actually see Skylar, and Skylar sort of says that
Yeah, she kind of explodes on him for
yeah, she kind of explodes on him.
understandably.
Well, yeah, it's like Hank is saying that Marie needs their help, and Skylar basically says that she's got all these problems. They can barely afford to keep the roof over their heads. Her husband is dying
She's
from.
got 99 problems, and that bitch ain't one.
Yeah, exactly. she literally calls her a bitch at one point, which was quite fun.
Yeah, it's very cathartic.
Yeah. So eventually, sort of, she gets that out, and sort of, obviously, things sort of moving forward on that front. Of course, Walter and Jesse are getting sort of paranoid about this whole Tuco thing.
Yeah, they don't know what they don't know what they're going to do. They don't know if this guy is well established to not be a predictable person. So
Yeah.
they don't know if he's going to be coming at them with his car through their front door, or sneaking up on them later in the night, or sending one of his henchmen to do it. So they have no idea what this man is capable of.
Well, yeah, and of course, both of them end up seeing a black SUV hanging around their house, which gets them even more paranoid. with hilarious consequences. But the funniest thing I liked was though the scene with Hank at work, because they have footage of Walter and Jesse
Oh,
stealing the whatever it was. I can't remember what the hell the methylamine or something
yeah,
like that
methylamine.
from the previous episode. And they were impressed by the way they used the thermite, but then laughed their asses off at them lugging out that can. And Hank even yelled at the screen what I was yelling at the screen when I was watching that episode. Roll it! Roll the bleeding barrel! Why didn't they do that? And like Hank was yelling at it, and like they must have put that in. Like deliberately. That line was put in on purpose. Like the writers put it in because the fans would have been yelling that at the time,
Well,
you know.
and they also established the fact that these guys aren't criminals, or at least Hank it, or at least Walt isn't. He's not a criminal. He just doesn't. He knows the science, but not the actual application of it.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so obviously Hank sort of he's got his radar up for this for Heisenberg, which is Walter's drug dealer name, which is a bizarre fucking name. I mean, why Heisenberg?
It's a science term. It's like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not sure what that is. Anyway, we'll get to that another time, I'm sure. Well, Walter comes up with the idea of poisoning Tuco using fucking magic beans. I can't remember what they actually called them.
They're castor beans.
Castor
That's where
beans.
they get castor oil from.
Oh, is it? Oh, fair enough.
I would assume.
What? I don't. What, that would be a bit weird. Did they get castor oil poisonous?
Castor oil itself isn't poisonous, but you can, like, according to the show, you can synthesize a poison from them.
Anyway, apparently it's a very powerful poison. Just touching the stuff can get some into your bloodstream. So, obviously, strong stuff. So they mix it up with their plan being to.
They want to like offer it as we're working on this new formula.
Yeah, they put it on some meth, and with the hope that Tuco will then snort it and then die a couple of days later. Apparently of seemingly natural causes, which would be bizarre. But anyway, that's their plan, which I was immediately picking holes in the plan. Like, if you're a drug dealer like Tuco, who is obviously has a questionable mental state, and these guys offer you a tiny weeny individual bag of a special new formula, are you instantly going to try that thinking, yeah, this is clearly going to be safe for my health?
He did try everything of meth that he brought to him, like when he first went there.
In a giant bag, yeah, because you're not going to contaminate the entire product. But in an individually wrapped, personalized, try before you buy kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm more reasonably minded than Tuco. Well, okay, I probably am more reasonably minded than Tuco is, but that would seem a little suspicious, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Even with you as insane as he is,
I was thinking, well, he'll either get his friend to try it, or try to get Walter to try it, or something, and that's
Walter
not going to work.
Jesse, and it's like Jesse has to hit it first.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I was expecting to happen. But it didn't. They didn't even get to a meeting like that because the body at the junkyard was found, but it wasn't just the one body. It was actually the other bodyguard was found there as well. Hank calls Walter up from the crime scene. I mean, I get
just randomly. He's not even.
Yeah.
He's not even like that. He would care about this. It's just he just happens to be there at the time.
Yeah, he just happens to be there at the time, sort of warning Walter that Skylar might be a little pissed when he gets back home because of what happened between them. And he just sends Walter a picture from the crime scene. And it's just, I love how Hank is just so blasé about the whole thing.
That's a great word for it, yeah.
He just doesn't give a shit. I mean,
well, because he does this professionally. He sees this kind of stuff all the time.
I know, but there is such a thing as respect for the dead, isn't there? Even if, I know there are a couple of drug dealing assholes. They don't demand much respect, but seriously, a little respect.
Well, they are cops. They kind of deal with this stuff. Well, not even even beyond cops or DEA. So,
but anyway, it turns out that, of course, Walter and Jesse immediately assume that Tuco has killed off the second bodyguard and is now going to be gunning for them. So they panic. Walter takes Jesse's gun, and just tells Jesse, just get the fuck out of town, grab your money and go. I've got to
Which
go
is
home
a
and
pretty good advice in most situations.
yeah. And Walter's great at advice. He's just not great at being a drug dealer. He takes Jesse's gun and goes home, sort of expecting trouble at his house. And while they're doing that, you go back to the scene with Hank, and they find out that the second body, wasn't killed by Tuco after all, but that the guy had gone back to move the body because he didn't want to leave it there in the first place because sort of respect for the dead and all that.
Well,
He
I'm
has
sure
fucking
he
respect
wanted to
for
move it to a place that's more easily hidden.
Probably. When he was reaching under to try to get the body, the pile of cars shifted. He got trapped and eventually bled to death.
He got
So
impaled on the wheel well, which is ow.
yeah, that oh no. Well, it's understandable. He died, so obviously it's not good. So Walter and Jesse think Tuco's gunning for them when he probably isn't.
Yeah,
So Walter decides to gather up all the money that he saved, which he was hiding in a vent. I still don't get.
he's hiding
Um,
it in the vent in the baby's room because they don't go in there much
yeah, I guess.
because
Anyway, he
they don't have the baby yet, obviously.
yeah, he moves it from the vent into a box, into a diaper box. Why, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, like I
Um,
said, they're not going to need diapers for a while. Nobody's going to be going
well,
in there.
you hope. I don't know. It's not actually established how far along Skylar actually
She is
is it?
pretty. I think she's
She's
pretty
quite far
close.
along. I mean, I would imagine it's somewhere between 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
So okay, they're not going to need diapers for a while, but it still seems like a strange place to hide the money and the gun.
Well, if he ever needs to bail out, he doesn't have to reach down to the vent. He can just take the box with him.
Yeah, I think that was probably what he was thinking. And unfortunately, he then sees sort of Jesse pull up outside, and I was thinking, oh, don't go to the car, you moron. This is not good. Jesse wouldn't show up at Walter's place for any other reason other than the fact that, surprise, surprise, Tuco is in the back of the bleeding car. Walter is forced into the car at gunpoint, and they drive off, and the fucking episode
Yeah,
ends.
that's where the episode ends. I mean, I would guess maybe Jesse would have some reason to go to Walt, but not for anything good.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I
yes,
mean,
this
obviously
was
Walter
definitely
didn't.
not good.
Yeah, Walter obviously didn't want anyone. He probably wouldn't even want Jesse to know about it, really, but he wouldn't want anyone in his sort of split personality lifestyle to know where his actual house was
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. So obviously Jesse showing up with a big red flag, and Walter, frankly, should have seen it coming. But anyway, really good episode. Obviously, very very curious now as to what the hell is going to happen next. But I would imagine Tuco is probably going to die. I'd be surprised if they all end up walking away out of this. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So yes, interesting stuff. We shall see. We shall see.
What do you think is the significance of the name of the episode?
You mean 737? Well,
Yeah.
that was the $737,000 he said he needed to raise.
Oh, that's one possible interpretation.
And what are the others? There are others?
We will see.
What? Have I missed something here, or is this something I haven't even bloody seen yet?
We will see you folks next time.
No! You can't just leave me hanging like this.